Hello and welcome to the Southeastern Recruiting Show. I'm your host, Brian Smith, and today I'm going to talk about the class of 2025 defensive linemen from the state of Georgia that are truly establishing themselves as being elite prospects and stack up compared to some of the other players in recent years that have helped teams all across the country, including Michigan, Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, etc., have really good defenses and kind of set the bar for what's coming up next in the next few years as the college football playoff expands. And it really just kind of looks like this. If you're going to make it to the college football playoff, you need elite defensive linemen. If you're going to win the college football playoff, you also have to have them, and probably in droves. The number one state right now, probably to get them out of, for whatever reason, just year after year, is the Peach State. Georgia has established itself as a stomping grounds for Alabama, Clemson, and Georgia, probably the three best programs over the last 10 to 15 years of producing defensive linemen, and they all three covet players from that state. I went back through the class of 2019 through 2023 just as a barometer and looked at defensive linemen ranked in the top 10 that weighed 250 or above. 7 out of the 9 signed with Clemson, Georgia, or Bama. What do those three programs have in common? They're always up there high in the rankings, and Georgia's won the last 2 titles. Alabama won it in 20, Clemson won it in 18, and then lost to LSU in the finals in 19. You have to be able to get some of these kids, whether Georgia or not, but it is a great place to start. Also, before I go into showing some film of the 4 players that I'm going to have, and those players are Elijah Griffin, Justus Terry, London Merritt, and Zayden Walker. You're going to have to find guys with versatility, and all these kids can play multiple spots. And keep in mind, they're only sophomores in high school right now, so they could end up gaining more weight or changing their body. Some maybe even lose a little weight. It depends. But these were the 4 that, after going through a lot of film, that really stuck out to me. And quite frankly, I think will end up being not just good college players, but guys that can make an impact and play really early, like a Michael Williams did at the University of Georgia this past year. He was one of their best pass rushers. And quite frankly, he was a guy that impacted games pretty early all the way through the end. So when you have freshmen doing that on top of the talent that Kirby Smart has at Georgia, it kind of explains itself. Can other schools break into that trend? The only 2 schools out of those 9 that got a player based on what I was just talking about a minute ago were Texas A&M, and the other one was Michigan. They got Hinton a few years back. Those are the only 2. The other 7 of 9, again, Clemson, Bama, and Georgia. It's a monopoly. Until teams start at least getting some of those kids and taking them away, it's going to be hard to keep even one, if not, 2 would be hard to imagine of those 3 not being in the playoff most years. You have to be good up front. Case in point, Georgia's not a quote-unquote pass rush team, but because their defensive line is so talented and takes up so many blockers, even last year being a 2-gap run-first defense, the Bulldogs still had 35 sacks, and they play a very conservative style of D. That's how good their D-line was. Their linebackers just ate all day because they were going free. It's easy money. Same thing with Bama. Similar scheme, a little more aggressive at times, but overall, they're a 2-gap scheme as well. Now, Clemson's a 1-gap get up the field, and they're recruiting very well all over the country, but they've had several guys from Georgia in the last 10 years that have helped them, and it's no different there either. Their D-line eats up a lot of things going up front. The linebackers run free for Clemson too, so they're a big sack total team as well. All of these guys, though, again, versatility and size. So first player I'm going to talk about is one that is one of the more unique recruits that I can remember seeing regardless of position in several years. And he's a young man. I don't know him personally, but I'm guessing that he's had a lot of training, and that's Elijah Griffin. 280 pounds, give or take. He has the speed off the edge at that size to play some weak side end, and I'm not exaggerating. He is that elite. I think he's the most surefire, sure bet in the 2025 class in terms of a defensive player and maybe overall, because you can't teach size. DJ Pickett out of Florida would be my other pick out of all the defensive players. He's a safety. But up front, I'm going with this guy. I mean, it's really hard to imagine somebody being quicker and stronger than he is. And then when you combine his technique, he uses really good handover, swipe, keeping guys off of him. He'll change direction, throw a different move. Very, very good. Another kid who's very similar size, I recently saw him at the Under Armour event at IMG, would be Justus Terry. Justus is a player that does a great job of overwhelming guys with power. When you see him walk onto the field, Justus is a bit unique. Power, power, and power. Now, he's gaining more and more reps and learning more things, but he's another kid out of the state of Georgia that he's starting to get the hand use a little bit better, and he can counter more, and he's starting to take to his craft. I know the people that were working with him at Under Armour were very excited about Justus Terry, and it's one of the reasons that he's one of the highest-ranked recruits in the country. He's already committed to Georgia, but I expect him to take visits to at least a few schools based on the information that I got. The guy that surprised me that I didn't know as much about at Under Armour, speaking of it, is London Merritt. He's out of the Atlanta area, attends a private school, and he's a really good football player, but he's going to be the guy that I'm not sure where he's going to play because he's give or take 240, 250 right now, but he could end up being 275. Where does he end up playing? I don't know. What I do know is his craft has been, shall we say, put on a high level for his age. And again, it's kind of like Elijah. Somebody's taught him some things because he had some of the offensive linemen on skates. Inside moves, he could go off the edge and just go speed rush, and then he would do a counter and take a hard step and then come back inside, use a rip with it. He really did a nice job in the one-on-ones. I thought he was the most spectacular kid there in the offensive line and defensive line. And I'm really not sure, again, where he got it from, but it just looked comfortable to London Merritt. So that's a really important thing. Once you're comfortable doing some of those things, and again, he's got 2 years of high school left, that's a great sign. The final kid is somebody that I know a little bit less about, but when you think of length, versatility, and just the ability to make plays in general, if there's a better way to kind of start than being a linebacker, a bigger linebacker that pass rushes, I'm not sure if you're going to find it. Zayden Walker plays some outside backer. They move him around a little bit in high school, rushes the passer. He can drop, listed at 220, but he's probably going to be a 240, 245 kid, maybe on, inside pass rush on a NASCAR package kind of deal when he gets to college, if he gets up over 250, but probably mostly an edge guy. And the reason I put him in here with this is he's just so good. I usually try to focus more on the bigger guys early because the big kids that can move laterally just change games. But this kid, Zayden, is athletic enough. I put him in here with some of the bigger guys just because he's a special talent and he can pretty much pick his school. So with that in mind, I think we're just going to go ahead and start with Elijah Griffin, and we'll go with him, and then we'll just go through and I'll talk a little bit about their film, discuss each one, and I'm going to kind of let it run a little bit and just have some fun with it too. All right, Elijah watch his hands on these plays. He is a kid that really does a nice job getting off a block, changes direction. Not many kids can really move like he does. And also use the hands to free himself a little bit quicker. He lives in the greater Savannah, Georgia area. And if you make a mistake like that, he'll also bury you. That's also one of the things I talk about a lot. When a team makes a mistake, do you capitalize? Elijah Griffin certainly does. Why you would let him go free, I have no idea. Seeing him move here, once he got that inside leverage, he just kept going. wasn't a terrible attempt at a block. He's just a better player. Here he is playing an outside technique, uses his arms to keep the guy off of him, and the powerful hands to knock the kid back, too. That's really impressive. Right there, he even let the offensive line get into him a little bit. He's just so strong, he overwhelmed. Nice inside move, and then adjusts. How many guys do you know that weigh 280 or more that can change direction like this young man? Nice rip move into the backfield. Look at that. Rip through. He runs like a kid that's 225. Inside move. He trusts his technique. That is a very important aspect that I don't think enough kids that are seniors in high school do. But Elijah really gets after it with that first step and just goes. When you don't block the star player, it never ends well. That is not a good play design against that team. Oof. That is raw power. I'm not sure what his best attribute is, but I am completely enthralled with the fact that he changes direction like an outside linebacker, if not even a strong safety. It's insane. We'll watch one more play here. From Mr. Griffin. That's just a raw hustle play. I love that kind of stuff. So obviously it's a situation where he's powerful enough that he's able to just make plays and do it over and over again. And I don't really think there's a better pure defensive player in the country than Elijah Griffin. He's at Savannah Christian. Tremendous talent. So next up, let's take a look at Mr. Justus Terry. As I noted earlier, he is committed to the University of Georgia. Raw power, but look at the first step. I'm not sure what blocking scheme that was there, but you got to take advantage. Push, pull, change direction, hammers the guy. A little swim move, change direction again. Notice how I keep bringing that up. These are guys that finish plays. They don't create for others. They just engulf whatever's in front of them. Either you have it or you don't. Justus reminds me a little bit of Trayvon Walker, just a bigger version coming out of high school. Very strong hands to pull guys down from behind. Against some teams, I guess not blocking a guy can work, but not against Justus Terry. That's a terrible idea. Look at the effort there. That is a play that not many D linemen will make because they don't run as hard as he does. That's a good sign. I'm curious to see if he does go to Georgia where they play him at, because I think he could play a little bit of nose guard if you wanted him to. He's 285 already. They could move him around a little bit. Look at the change of direction. One more play from the big fella here. Yeah, teams just at the high school level, they're just not able to really handle him. And I don't think that's anything against him, but at the high school level, Justus Terry is already annihilating kids, and he has 2 years left. That's kind of scary. The next young man is London Merritt. This is a big-time player, and this is also a kid that has the ability to play inside a little bit and also be a guy that could be a speed rusher on either side. He changes direction here pretty well, just like the other two. Great first step, very aggressive, strong hands. Will show a bevy of moves, and if you do that and don't block anybody, he will kill your running back. That is a terrible blocking scheme. See, they play him inside some, but that's just part of it. They got him outside here. Again, if you don't block star players at the high school level, it does not work out. That may work at the NFL level. You're trying to fool somebody and shock them, but at the high school level, they just seek and destroy. Not a good idea. Hands, quick, changes direction, TFL. Inside again at nose guard, push-pull, nice hit on the quarterback, then comes back and gets in on the play for the guy that caught the ball. Look at Merritt change direction again, break down. Oh, fumble. Nice job. This is second-level effort. They actually blocked him pretty good there. He just kept hustling. Look at him just long-arm that guy. Oh, my goodness. One more play here. Outside this time. He is something else now. London Merritt is the kind of kid that any college coach likes playing on their depth chart because you can move him around. If you've got somebody hurt, he can at least be a competent player at end like you would at D tackle or whatever long term. Again, he's give or take 250, something like that now. But what's he going to weigh in 2 years? 275? It's hard to say. And with his first step quickness, that's a really impressive young man. So playing in the Atlanta area, he's getting a lot of competition too. So, and the last player, the person I promised that was a little bit different, Zayden Walker. This young man is different from another perspective. He's playing edge, and he's still dominating a lot because of his quickness and his ability to change direction even more than the other guys, which is really scary. But he's 220, give or take, and I think he's going to be a hybrid player that just wherever he goes to school. I mean, look at that. That's ridiculous. Intercepts a pass out in the flat. He's going to be a guy that can score touchdowns for you in a myriad way. So, yeah, he's a national recruit too. But for his size, he's so physical. Zayden really attacks the ball carrier after getting off a block. And just it's like a continuation. He has no hesitation to get to the ball. Look at the hustle there. Not only did he cut him off, he did it quickly. Great job of using his shoulders and keeping square to the line of scrimmage. Holds off the block, makes the play. Look at that. Huh. Quite impressive. Here they got him at inside backer, and he just times it up and just blows the entire play up. That's the sign of an athlete when you can play a running back like that. That running back blocking him there had no interest in doing so. Here he is in a wide 9. Quarterback gets mauled. And once again, look at the hands. That pass is like 2 yards away from him. He picks it off in the air and just takes it the distance. It's like he pulled a hammy on that one. Here he is inside linebacker, times it up. He makes the play. Finally, here's one more play we'll show. Look at him take the inside angle and just bury the guy. So there it is. All right. So what does this all tell us? Again, the state of Georgia is loaded with defensive linemen. Is it likely many teams can get kids out of there? No. But if they don't, again, not only do they not get the players, the same schools that already have, by and large, more talent than everybody else are also getting the best players at the most critical position, interior defensive line. And then, of course, kid like Zayden can play whatever. This has to change, or else there's going to be a lot of teams still struggling to beat Georgia, Alabama, Clemson. Clemson took a little step back while they tried to figure out quarterback the last couple of years, but they're back on track with D-line recruiting. Again, one of the key guys they got last year is a big-time defensive lineman out of Warner Robins, among others. That's how they'll get back on track. They'll figure quarterback out probably with Gabe Klubnik too. So I'm curious to see what teams can do, not only in Georgia, and I'm going to do some more of these, state of Florida, et cetera. Marndo Blunt's a kid you're going to hear about a lot out of Miami Central. But there are just no ways around it. The state of Georgia has a lock on the defensive line recruiting, especially the bigger defensive linemen. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, they all have some. But right now, for whatever reason, Georgia is just killing it with these defensive linemen every single year. It's not like you skip a year or something like that. Every year they've got a few of these guys that everybody wants. It's crazy. I'm going to have to wait and see if somebody can knock off the key guys for recruitments. Again, Georgia, Bama, Clemson. But if they don't, it's going to be pretty hard to beat them. So please like this podcast. Please share it. And please, above all else, hit the notification bell and comment. I'm curious to see what y'all have to say about the recruitment in the state of Georgia, what's going on all around the nation in recruiting. We're happy to talk about it here at CFB Nation. But if you don't add the comments, it's kind of hard to really get into it. So with that, thank you very much, and y'all have a great day.